Thompson. John Quincy. Thank you so much for coming, man.
Well, thank you. There you go.
Morning, sir. Good to see you.
I know you're looking for a lot.
Oh, buddy, how are you, man? You don't look a thing like the last time I saw you.
Are you filming this?
Charlie, get our picture together. The rock and roll.
Better not be.
Here's my wife, Darlene. Hey, Darlene, how you doing? Good. They're ready.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Duke of Louisville has entered the building.
I mean, we're a thing too, we're both human beings. Some people, yeah.
How you doing, John Quincy?
I'm Powell.
Hey, Don, how are you?
A friend of ours.
All right, thank you so much for coming.
All right. Let's see what else. Your wife's going to be Brian Station. Getting ready to retire here. Dr. Watson.
You did?
Dr. Watson.
Good. You, Kyle, a long time ago. I'm like Gina. She wants to meet you. The Duke of Louisville. All right. Johnny, we're going to bring you here tonight. You're looking better. Well, listen, I'm not going to mess with you, dude. Sure, it's good to see you, though. Hey, Bill. I do not remember working with me, but I sure remember working with you. I still remember that first day you came in and I was working overnight, so you didn't know I had the dog, and you came out about the full board and scared the hell out of me. Met your maker. I don't know, it's on the news or something. Having a good time? I really appreciate you coming. We had a lot to talk about last night. Bring their wives or whatever. Bill Bailey's family, so I had all his kids except for his son here. I do the night show for AGM. Just a little jealous. Like, hey, I'm going to work here about an hour, but I wanted to just come by and say hello and let you know. Yeah. See, I remember we've been waiting for one of mine to pop up. The aircraft carrier bill. There's no doubt about that. Oh, I wish. I am now.
I wanted to come by and see you over there, but I didn't know whether I could or didn't know anything. Well, it sure is good to see you again. Yeah, good to see you. Yes, I'm glad you're able to get out. Good.
Thank you, Johnny. don't know, that's kind of hard for me. I mean, for $5,000, I think we got to catch all the stuff.
I'm glad you guys came, you ladies as well. My name is John Quincy. I'm on our website, WAKY.com and 1080WKLO.com. Maybe you guys have seen it. Thank you all for coming. I hope you guys had a good time. Make sure you present somebody who really put on, sorry WKLO guys, this guy put on the greatest rock and roll radio station ever, John Randolph. I'm doing radio in the godforsaken town of Charleston, South Carolina, which is a beautiful place to be. But John has got something very special he'd like to say right now, something very special we'd like to do for one of our honored guests this evening.
All right, do 2 microphones, 1 AM and 1 FM, right? You know, this is indeed very, very special, as we all can relate to this, because, well, number one, Burbank and I have talked for 25 years about getting together in Louisville reunion, and we haven't done squat. Who put it together? A listener. Now, John here was at church camp at a transistor radio and listened to the radio and said, hey, man, I want to do this, and he made his career out of this. And I have found over the years, especially since this CD from John came out, that people come out of the woodwork and say, hey, I got into radio because of what went on at WAKY, what went on at WKLO. Now, I may be wrong on this, but I think that there are only 4 people that ever went from WKLO to WAKY. I may be wrong, but 2 of us are here tonight, Bill Bailey and me. Am I wrong?
Right here.
Bill Crisp.
Bill Crisp is here. Oh my Lord. Bill Crisp was the morning man at WKLO when I first went there. That was in 1965. I was hired by a real visionary named Terrell Matheny, Mitch Michael. Mitch Michael brought me from Middletown, Ohio, from a 100-watt station to Louisville. You talk about the week of the week. I did 7 to midnight. Bill was our morning man. Bill then went over to WAKY as program director and inherited a huge commercial load. Don Myers, who is here tonight, was the general sales manager of WAKY. Don must have done a heck of a job because we were carrying about 25 minutes of commercials an hour on that station. And I wasn't there yet. I was at KLO, and KLO was lean and mean. We did about 12 minutes an hour, and we were rocking and rolling, starting to give WAKY fits at the time. But the vision that Terrell Matheny had bringing me to town was nothing, because Bill went over to WAKY as PD, and Terrell Matheny hired Bill Bailey at WKLO. So while the rest of us were tight and right, what the motto was, tighten up, shut up, and watch the ratings go up. And indeed they did. We brought Bill into mornings, and Bill Crisp was over at WAKY as PD. Tim Tyler, who's here tonight, he was the 6 to 9 jock. He was my competition. And when Tim Tyler went into sales, as if we needed more spots on WAKY, he went into sales for WAKY. I replaced him, and Bill hired me as assistant PD. And he mentioned Ernie Goodrich, too, was the general manager of KLO. Ernie was a real visionary because Bill's a pretty unusual disc jockey, and to say the least. And there's probably a lot of heat, you know, of people saying, you know, what is going on here at this radio station? And Ernie Goodrich and Terrell Matheny said, this is the way we're going to go. And, of course, naturally, it proved to be right. 6 months later, Bill Crisp hired me over at WAKY. Bill also was pretty much of a visionary because he had found a disc jockey here in Louisville who worked at a good music station that didn't particularly like rock and roll. This guy liked jazz. He was pretty soft-spoken, mild-mannered. The only thing about him that made him different was he had a beard. And Bill Crisp created the Weird Beard. And that was Louisville radio history. So then over at WAKY, Gary Guthrie, who was here tonight, he replaced me as program director, and I left in 1978. And then Gary, then Mike McVeigh, and I'm not sure, Moody after that. But I was out of town to move back to Kentucky about 3 years later. But when I went over to WAKY, things were starting to get together. We had a Dude Walker, Mason Dixon, Bob Ferdinand replaced Bill Crisp as PD when Bill left. So things were starting to get together. And last night, Joe Elliott called me on WHAS, and I was on his program, and he said, what's the most memorable moment on WAKY you ever had? I said, I was called to a general staff meeting by, now it wasn't Don Myers, Don had already been transferred back. Don was at WAKY, got transferred out, and then came back. I said, now, the most memorable moment was, this is before Bill was at WAKY, I was sitting there in the conference room with the rest of the DJs. The general manager came in and said, we are going to be conducting a nationwide search to find a new program director for WAKY. And Gary Burbank said, well, what about Randolph? And the general manager said, well, he's never had any real experience as a program director. And Gary says, well, he's been the assistant program director for a couple of years. Ought to be worth something. And the manager said, no, got someone with experience. So Gary said, all right, I'm going to get something to drink. Now you have a half hour to decide whether Randolph's going to be the PD or not. So Burbank turns to the rest of the jocks and says, are you with me? And Dude Walker and Mason and everything get up and walk out. And there I am sitting there with the general manager face to face, no one else in the conference room. He says, well, I guess you're program director. So things were starting to come together, so with that we figured, well, we'll rock and roll and try and get the thing going. And one of my mission statements, one of my jobs at WAKY was to get Bill Bailey away from WKLO. So I'm sending out tapes like they're going out of style in all these markets. This took a couple of years to do, and KLO was really coming on. We did get our commercial load at WAKY lowered from 22 minutes to, what was it, Tim, about 18 minutes an hour? About 18 minutes an hour. I played spots one time. Tyler is on the air. When he's on the air, he's going to get the spot load lowered, right? He goes into sales and then brings in those orders on Friday afternoon. Go figure. But anyway, Bill came on real strong at KLO. We got him out of town. Then we got him back. He was the first jock actually I hired as a program director at WAKY. And I look around, I see people sitting around and standing around tonight. There's Terry from HAS. Terry used to sit right outside the window. He would sit outside the window the whole time listening to his transistor radio, listening to WAKY. He was 14, still bald.